Hey guys, welcome back. Today on the Untidy Artist, I'll be showing you how to make an Easter Bunny fairy doll. Years ago when I started making fairies, this is one of the first requests that I received, and it took me obviously a few years to figure out exactly how I wanted to do this cute little fairy doll. I will be honest, the ears were a bit of a challenge, but I'm excited to show you what I figured out. So let's grab some supplies and get started. Now the first thing you're going to need is some flowers. I found the pink and the white flower at Michael's, and then I also have these flowers that have pink and white in them, and I actually got a big stem of these at the dollar store. So I really liked these petals because of the shape. I kind of thought it reminded me of the shape of a bunny ear, and we'll actually be using some of these white flower petals for the bunny ears. And I just wanted to layer together a lot of white and pink, different types of flower petals to give us a nice, fluffy, fun skirt for our bunny fairy doll. Then I've got some thread. I have a really shiny white, a shiny pink, and just regular pink. I have some glitter. This is probably my favorite glitter. It is a disco glitter. It's from Hobby Lobby, and I love how it reflects the light. I've got some extra fine pink glitter, and then I wanted to mix it up a bit, so I have this chunkier glitter. It's a bigger glitter, and I thought it would be fun to kind of add this jumbo glitter to give us some different texture. Then I have this little tiny pom-pom that has a little bit of sparkle in it. I bought these in a big pack at Michael's, and I did get them with a coupon, so I got them for a lot less. It obviously gave me a ton of pom-poms, and I'll be able to use these for other projects. I've got some white grosgrain ribbon that's about 1/4 of an inch, and then I have this variety pack of different types of pink ribbon that were just fun textures and colors. I actually got this around Halloween time. I have some Mod Podge and a teeny tiny paintbrush, a sharp pair of scissors, and last but not least, my glue gun set on low. You do a lot of detailed work in this tutorial, and so having a dual temperature glue gun is really helpful because you don't get burned by the glue. And then, of course, I have my fairy doll. So if you're new to making fairies, please check out my basic fairy doll tutorial. In that, I teach you how to take a wooden bead, a piece of floral wire, and some embroidery floss and twist it into this cute little doll. So you'll find the basic instructions on how to do that on my YouTube channel. I will also add a link below. Okay, so we have our fairy all made. Now we're going to grab our satiny pink thread, and we're going to dress our fairy doll. So you can see I just gave her a V-neck and a little pair of shorts. Once again, those instructions are in my basic fairy doll tutorial. Then I'm going to take the regular pink and I'm going to give her some little pink shoes. Then I'm going to grab my white, and this is a really pretty satiny white color. It almost looks a little bit gray. I really liked the contrast with the pink, and I'm just giving her a little sash. So I just wrapped some of this around her waist. And then I'm going to set her aside, and we're going to pull apart our flowers. So just pull apart all of the flowers, and once you have them all pulled apart, start layering them together to kind of figure out how you want the skirt to lay. I always start with bigger petals as the underneath layers and the smaller petals as the top layers. And I just layered these together, kind of changing it around. I really wanted the top to be white and then a lot of pink and white in the underneath layers. So once I had it kind of figured out to how I wanted it, you can fold it in half and hold it up to your fairy doll and see if you like it. And if you're happy with how the skirt looks, at that point you're going to grab the flower petals. You're going to take a couple at a time and lining up the little hole in the middle, fold it in half, and then cut an X into the middle so that we can slide the flower petals up and around our fairy doll's waist. So you'll do that with all of the petals. And once you have them all cut in the middle, you're going to start with the top layers of her skirt, so the smaller flower petals, and you're going to slide them up and around your fairy doll's waist. And I really loved how the white looked with the satiny sash that we gave her. So just starting with those top layers, slide them up and around her waist in the order that you want them to be in. And I kind of like to arrange them as I go, making sure that they overlap nicely and give me a nice, pretty full skirt. So once you have all of the flower petals up and around her waist, go ahead, grab the glue gun, and using tiny dabs of glue, tack the skirt together. So I start with the top layers, just adding tiny dabs of glue between the layers, kind of arranging the skirt as I go until I have my skirt all glued together. And you'll do that in the front and in the back, and then you can kind of go back through and move any around that need to fall a little bit differently or that you don't really like how they're overlapping. So I just kind of play with that until I'm happy with how her skirt is laying. And once you have her skirt all tacked together, we're going to start adding some details. This fairy doll does have a lot of little tiny details. So I'm taking this kind of braided rope type ribbon and I cut off a piece of it. If you ever have a braided type of ribbon that can come unraveled, you can always use a little dab of glue from your glue gun and kind of just put the dab of glue on it, twist it together, and hold the glue down to kind of make it so that your ribbon doesn't unravel. So I've taken about a 2-inch piece of this ribbon and I'm going to turn my doll so that I'm working on the back side of my doll. And I'm taking that ribbon and I'm laying it right in the middle of her shoulders in the back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take each side of the ribbon and we're going to fold it up and over so it lines up with her sleeve. So we're looking at the back of our doll right now and we're sliding that ribbon up and over so that when you see her from the front, you only see that little bit of the braided ribbon just on the side of each sleeve. So then using a tiny dab of glue, I'm going to tack down each side, tiny dab of glue, and then just fold that ribbon over and push it to the back, holding it in place until the glue sets. And I did the same thing on the other side, and then turn her so that you're working on her back again, and you're going to add another tiny dab of glue and overlap the ribbon in the back. So I put that tiny dab of glue, really held the glue down it, and then I trimmed it, and because it's glued down, that ribbon won't come unraveled. And then I just overlapped it a tiny bit, added some more glue, and really held it down so that it would stay in place. And if you ever get too much glue in any spot in your fairy making, you can always use a hairdryer to kind of melt the glue and make it not as noticeable. So now our fairy doll has these cute little detailed sleeves on her dress. Now we're going to style our doll's hair. Now for basic styling for a fairy doll's hair, you'll want to check out my basic fairy doll tutorial. I'm going to kind of walk you through this because I did a little side twisted rope braid. So you're going to push the bead down, add a tiny dab of glue at the top of her head, push the bead up to hold the hair in place, and then smooth the hair. You really want to make sure that it's not tangled up at all. And I'm going to put a tiny dab on each side, smoothing the hair down as I go. And then one tiny dab of glue in the very back. So I've done a dab of glue on the left, one on the right, tiny dab of glue right in the middle in the back of her hair, and I'm just gently smoothing that down so that we can work her hair into a ponytail. Then I'm using some of the pink thread that I used when for her shoes, and I'm going to tie a few knots and then wrap it around a few times. And before I really tie it off too tight, I like to flip her over to the front and see if I like how her ponytail is situated. And if I like it, like I said, just wrap a few more times around the ponytail and tie it off with a double knot. Then I'm going to smooth her hair down again, give her a little haircut, and I'm going to split the hair in half and create a rope braid. So to create a rope braid, you're going to twist both of the pieces to one side. So I twisted these to the right, and now I'm going to twist them together to the opposite side. So I'm twisting them together to the left. You could also do a braided ponytail at this part. You could also just leave it as a ponytail. And then I'm going to use that same pink thread, tie off the end of her rope braid. And then I'm going to give the very straggly ends of her hair another little haircut. Smooth out the ends. I always say that the hair is the hardest part. Work slow, definitely smooth out the thread during the entire time you're doing her hair to keep it laying nicely and to help it from getting tangled up. And she has this cute little side braided ponytail. Okay, set her aside and then go ahead. I'm grabbing some of the white flower petals, and these are kind of a daisy-like flower. And I really liked how these flower petals were shaped, and we're going to be using these to create her ears. So I cut 2 of the flower petals off of the main petal, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to kind of trim it up so that each side is even, because we want her ears to be the same. So just trimming a tiny bit at a time, and by folding them in half, you can get them so they're the same shape. And then I went back through and just trimmed off a tiny bit more. And we have little bunny ears. So now I'm going to take that teeny tiny paintbrush and my Mod Podge, and I'm going to paint some Mod Podge glue onto the ears, and we'll be adding some pink glitter to this part. This will be the inside pink part of our bunny's ear. So I'm using this tiny paintbrush. This worked really well. I actually tried doing this with my glue gun first time around, and it was not pretty, so I decided to go back through and use Mod Podge, and by using this tiny paintbrush, you're able to really get the glue exactly where you want it. And then I just took my little flower petals and pushed them into the pink glitter. And ta-da! We have sparkly bunny ears. I was really happy with how these turned out. Okay, now go ahead and set those aside because we want that glue to dry completely. And then I'm going to take that same tiny paintbrush and I'm going to add some glitter to our doll skirt. And I decided to do 3 different layers on the skirt of the different types of glitter. So the first glitter I'm doing on one of the underneath white layers, and I'm just adding this iridescent glitter, disco glitter from Hobby Lobby. I love how this reflects the light, and I thought it was so darling on her skirt. And then I'm actually taking my glue and I'm painting a little bit right around her waist, and I'm adding some of the glitter up around her waist. And you can see that by using the paintbrush, you really do have a lot of control over exactly where the glue goes. So now I have my first layer of the glitter done. So you can see the sparkly glitter up and around her waist, and then just on one of the layers of the flower petals. So all the way around, front and back, I just added this really pretty iridescent glitter. Then I'm going to take this chunkier jumbo glitter, and I'm going to pick another layer and, using my little paintbrush, paint my glue on and add the jumbo glitter to a different layer on her skirt. So this was the layer just above the layer that I put the iridescent glitter on. And I loved the contrast and the different types of glitter and the different kind of sparkle and way that each type of glitter caught the light differently. And it just really made a really fun sparkly skirt. So you can see that jumbo glitter reflects the light so pretty. So we have our iridescent on the bottom, or one of the bottom layers, then the jumbo glitter, and then on the very bottom pink layer, I'm just adding a tiny bit of the glue to the tips of the petals, and I'm using this darker pink that we used in the bunny ears, and I really like how this tied all of the colors together. Now, if you want to simplify this part, you could obviously just use one type of glitter. You could leave the glitter out completely. I liked the different detail and sparkle it gave her skirt doing the different types of glitter on the different layers. Totally up to you. Go ahead, set her aside so that the glue can dry, and by this point your bunny ears should be dry. So I took my bunny ears, I trimmed the bottom off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 little slits into the bottom of my bunny ears. So one on the left and one on the right. So you can see up close, and what we're going to do is we're going to bend the middle part back and glue it down, and then we're going to glue the front part, so the outer edges of the bunny ears, we're going to glue those forward. And what this will help us do is make her bunny ears stand upright. So you can see I have those 2 little tiny cuts at the bottom. So I'm going to add the tiniest dab of glue right at the top of her head, like tiny, tiny dab of glue. And I'm going to push that middle section, that little middle tab that we created, I'm going to glue it back. And this did take some steady hands and patience. So you can see that that's glued down in the back. And then we're going to push those two little tabs on each side forward. And this will help her ears stay up nice and straight. So then once again, I'm just taking tiny dabs of glue, and I actually added the glue to the back of that little tab. Just tiniest bit of glue. And I'm pushing that little tab forward, and it helps her bunny ears stay up nice and straight. So you'll do that on both sides. And we've got bunny ears. Then I took another small dab of glue, put it right at the back, and I'm taking about a 1/4 inch piece, maybe even 1/8 of an inch piece of that grosgrain ribbon, and I'm gluing it just right at the back of her bunny ears. This helps to stabilize them a little bit more, and it helps to cover up the spot where we glued the ears down in the back. And we have cute little bunny ears on our fairy doll. And like I said, you can go back through with tiny dabs of glue and kind of arrange those a little bit more so that they're laying the way that you like them. Last but not least, we're giving our little fairy doll a bunny tail. So I took a tiny dab of glue right at the back of her skirt, and I'm taking this cute little white fluffy pom-pom that had a little bit of iridescent pieces in it, and I'm gluing that right at the back of her skirt. And that's it, guys. You're all set. You have this absolutely darling, very festive Easter bunny fairy doll. I really love how she turned out, and I really appreciate getting suggestions from everyone, and this was a really fun challenge for me. So thank you to everyone that requested this doll. And if you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, please post those below. If there's a fairy doll you'd like to see, please post that in the comments below. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. That would be fantastic. And if you liked this tutorial, be sure and give it a thumbs up. Check out some of my other tutorials on my YouTube channel, and stay tuned for more spring fairy dolls. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support and all of your kind words. And I hope you all have a wonderful spring, and we will see you next time.